Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Double 18 Podcast Live Stream Edition. I'm your host, Stephen Nagishi, and want to thank everybody for adjusting to the time schedule. We were supposed to welcome our guest today, Jacob Infante, making another return for us. He is the lead draft analyst with the Bears blog, Windy City Gridiron, also a contributor with the PFN 365. Jacob Infante joining me once again. Jacob, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Stephen. It's been a long draft process. I'm just excited for the actual draft to get here now. So we have, definite breakdown, and because, I feel like there's the whole, the hypotheticals are going on way too long. It's like, oh, what if so-and-so's here? What if so-and-so's here? Like, I just want to know who they're going to take at this point. But otherwise, I'm, doing pretty good.
Absolutely. The draft is finally just around the corner, less than 2 weeks from now. And I think a lot of people are like, let's get this thing over with, because of the such a long drawn process right now, right?
Absolutely.
And your cat is making a.
There you go.
Hey, no problem.
There you go. All right. I'm just going to keep him down here. He's so every single time I have my laptop on, he always tries to find a way to get on top of it. So I don't want him to kick
Nice. Hey, no problem. Hey, you're a good person if you love your animals and stuff. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, good. Jacob, thank you for joining me once again. We were actually together late February and early March for the NFL Draft Combine, and I had a phenomenal experience attending the Combine for the first time in 2 years. And lo and behold, I ran into you, your brother, and your father there. And then I also ran into, Herb Howard, who I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah.
He and Nicholas Moriano, who used to be with formerly of CHGO, now an esteemed colleague for BearGogglesOn.com, who also writes now there.
Yeah.
I saw him, but I didn't get to talk to him. I had a chance to hang out a little bit with Herb there. So it was a really cool experience, being able to see, the players work out extensively and with your presence there and everything. So kind of give us an overview of your thoughts on the NFL Combine experience and what stood out to you from attending the NFL Draft Combine this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do a great job with it every year, really. I think Indianapolis does a tremendous job here. I'm going to unplug my laptop because it's playing with the cord here. But I do think so. I think the Combine at this point is a well-oiled machine. Like, there's no real concerns necessarily about, like, it's going to go on time. Like, they're on top of their stuff, and getting to see the players live, doing their thing is it's always a lot of fun. I haven't gone since pre-COVID, honestly. So it's been a while for me. I know you said you went 2 years ago, and anytime you take like in between going, really, gets you to see like, I miss seeing this. So just getting to watch the players is a lot of fun. Getting to be around the city while there's all this buzz. You see these players and coaches and agents and media and stuff like that. Everyone's out and about. It's always cool to see. So I'm definitely happy to be able to make the trip down. Happy to be able to meet you. Happy to be there, honestly.
Yeah, it really was. It also happened to coincide with my birthday, which was March 1st, and it was a lot of cool experience there. Got to dine at the famous St. Elmo's Steakhouse and try their world famous shrimp cocktail, which would certainly live up to its billings. You read it all the time during the NFL Draft Combine. Where people, the big shots always hang out there. Annually down there and talk about it, and I was very, very curious about it. And luckily, I was able to get a seat there. I didn't see anybody there that is of very noteworthy. Maybe they were hanging out somewhere, in a private room that that wasn't allowed for average Joes like me. But nonetheless, it was a cool experience. And again, it was so cool to meet you and your family. It was,
Yeah.
you guys were so down to earth and very friendly. And,
Well,
I really, really enjoyed the experience and look forward to hanging out with you guys again
of course.
down the road, whether it's, Indianapolis or somewhere else. All right. Let's get to the main topic here. You certainly been very, very busy churning out mock drafts and everything at this point, but let's kind of do it a little bit differently. The Bears picking at 10th right now. Obviously, who do you like? The Bears at the 10 would be the focal point of this conversation, or who you don't like. But let's do it kind of 1 through 9, since the Bears are picking 10th. With 9 teams ahead of the Bears, a lot can change between now and then, with the trades and everything.
Yeah.
Let's start with Tennessee, number 1 overall. It's Cam Ward for you, right?
Yeah. I think at this stage it's Cam Ward. I think there's a little bit of mystery going into it, but the last couple of weeks I really think it's become pretty clear. I think that's the direction they go. You can pretty much just write that in Sharpie at this point.
At this point, yes. So I think the draft kind of starts at number 2, which is Cleveland. There have been some, rumors, all kinds of rumors flowing around, with what they will do at number 2. But the popular notion would be that, Shedeur Sanders would be the number 2 pick because Cleveland does need a quarterback. Yes. Yeah. But I think a lot of people are probably asking themselves, is Shedeur, worth being the second quarterback or being taken second overall, much less at this point? Where are you on Shedeur Sanders at number 2, or even who do you have Cleveland taking at this point?
Yeah, so I'll say that I have Shedeur Sanders as my QB2 in the class. Yeah. So naturally, if you're going to put a little bit more investment in the quarterback position, or at least like a little bit more stock into that, that's fine. I don't think they should take a quarterback at 2. Especially if Cam Ward's going to be off the board at 1 to the Titans. Yeah. Right now, I'm leaning towards Travis Hunter. I think is where they end up going at number 2.
Okay.
We're looking at it. The Browns are, they have some pieces, but not nearly enough to the point where it's like, all right, they're a quarterback away. Right. I definitely don't think they are a quarterback away. And in most cases, I believe you have a great chance to take a quarterback. You take it. I don't believe in the sake of, drafting
a quarterback. Yeah.
Just for the sake of drafting a quarterback. I think it's got to be the right fit. It's got to be the right value. I don't necessarily think that Shedeur is great value at 2. I think that when you have a guy with Travis Hunter, tremendous ball skills, tremendous athleticism, he's got the rare two-way capabilities to play on offense and defense. I think that's something that's going to be really interesting to the Browns. And do they have bigger needs than cornerback? Sure. They have Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome, but at the same time, I think that Travis Hunter will be an awesome addition to that secondary. And then also you consider what Travis Hunter can do on offense as well. That's probably your wide receiver 2 behind Jerry Jeudy. It remains to be seen if he's going to be like a full-time receiver in the pros or whatever it's going to be. But he's got to play some sort of role on offense. And I think like that rare kind of profile that he has, I think that makes him worth taking it 2.
You don't think Abdul Carter will be taken at 2?
I thought about it. I actually have Abdul Carter as the top prospect in this class. I just think that the Browns at this stage, it seems like there's a little bit more buzz around Travis Hunter. So, we'll see, because I do have Abdul Carter as the top guy, and him and Myles Garrett rushing off the edge would be a lot of fun together. Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I just think my gut says they're going to go with Travis Hunter, even though I do have Abdul Carter as my top guy in the class.
Okay. Now let's move on to number 3, the New York Giants. This is another team that needs a quarterback. Yeah. But I think ESPN's Jordan Ronan was saying that there are people within Giants organization who do not like Shedeur Sanders. I don't know if it's a smokescreen or not, but who do you have the Giants here at number 3?
Yeah, so the Giants, then I'm going to have them taking Abdul Carter. And it's going to be interesting here because I mean they do have Brian Burns,
rushers, and then
yeah,
Kalen Thibodeau, they're set ahead there.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's going to be interesting. But at the same time, Thibodeau, like he's been solid, but he hasn't necessarily lived up to the hype as be him being a top 10 pick, a couple of years ago.
Right.
I could see maybe they try and flip him for additional draft capital, and they see, all right, Abdul Carter's the best player on the board. We are a bad football team. We need good football players.
Yeah.
And that defensive line revolving around, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, that's a really good group to work with. So, I don't know necessarily who the head coach of the Giants is going to be in 2026, but whoever it is, that defensive line would be a really enticing piece for him. And then if you want to move on from Thibodeau, I'm sure you could still get a good amount of draft capital for him because he's young and talented. Just the production hasn't been like as high as you'd prefer for someone of his pedigree. But yeah, that's the direction I'd go with. I think just best player available. And in my opinion, that's Abdul Carter.
New England Patriots at number 4. Sorry, I misspelled New England there. This is a team that certainly has made a lot of noise this offseason in free agency. Like the Bears, they have Drake May, at young quarterback. They still have it in the rookie deal. This is an interesting spot, with 2 offensive tackles, both Will Campbell and Ahmad Membu, both being available. I think that they would love to have the opportunity to get a hands on Travis Hunter as well here if somehow he falls down. Do you see the Patriots taking one of the tackles to give better protection for Drake May?
I do if both Hunter and Carter are off the board. And I mean, in this case, they are. I feel like that'd be a little bit of a bummer for the Patriots because those are 2 blue chip players. And the hope would be going into this, you get 2 quarterbacks coming off the board with the first, the first 3 picks. That's going to get one of them to fall to you. That's not the case here. So I'd say a tackle's the way to go. He's been active today. I'd say a tackle's the way to go. I think, I had the chance to Adam Schefter going into as a part of like his work with the type 1 diabetes, screening awareness organization.
Okay.
Talk about that, but also, one of the people I asked about was Will Campbell, and he said that generally the expectation is teams are going to try him at tackle. Teams think at least to start, he's going to be a tackle. So I think if you're looking at it like that, if he fails, you can kick him into guard, do whatever, but they see him as a tackle. That's what the consensus is. I think Will Campbell would go to the Patriots. I think that's your left tackle right there. That's something they need. They have some guys along the interior offensive line, but your top priority should be surrounding Drake May with talent. Yeah. I don't think there's a receiver worth taking at 4, but there are 2 offensive linemen that are worth taking here. I just think they take Will Campbell.
Mm-hmm. Where are you on his arm length debate?
Yeah, I mean, and it's a tricky conversation, honestly, because he's generally an outlier. Because he's got such short arms for an offensive tackle, and even smaller wingspan comparatively. But all things considered, I think I'd turn on the tape, and I see someone who has the tools to overcome that. And it'd be one thing if he was like an average athlete necessarily, and it's like, all right, he doesn't have a lot of range and pass protection, and he's got short arms. It's not going to work. Right. But I think Campbell is good enough. He's very good in a considerable amount of areas to where I think he could overcome it. Does that mean he will? I don't know. But I'm in the same belief as well. You try him out as tackle. If it doesn't work, you can kick him inside at guard. But I think he's athletic enough. I think he's strong enough. And I think he's smart enough too in, how he diagnoses different, exotic rushes, how he fares as a zone run blocker, understanding his assignments, how he uses his hands. I mean, he's a good, smart football player. So that's where I stand. I say try him at a tackle. If it doesn't work, you can try him at guard. There's no shame in that.
Right.
Worst case, in my opinion, you spend a top 10 pick on a really good guard. And sure, that's not the sexiest pick in the world, but there are many teams who have made way worse decisions in the top 10 than drafting a high-end guard. So I think if that's your worst case scenario, then I think that's pretty good.
All right, moving on to Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a team that's been always constantly drafting top 5, top 10, pretty much every year at this point, with the exception of a few years when they did actually make it to the playoffs. Do you see Ahmad Membu here, or do you see somebody like Tyler Warren getting drafted here to give? Either way, whoever you draft, you got to do a better job of giving Trevor Lawrence some protection or more weapons, right?
I think that should definitely be a priority at some point in the drafts. The Jaguars are interesting to me because I've had penciled in Mason Graham as the pick out of Michigan for some time because that's a need for them. He's incredible value at 5. I'd certainly argue he's a top 5 player overall in this class. But again, like you mentioned, the more I look into it, the more I'm thinking, oh, maybe they go in a different direction. Maybe they take Tyler Warren. Maybe they take an offensive lineman. I don't believe they've extended Travis Etienne. Pie in the sky. Maybe they consider Genty. But so I'm going to go with Tyler Warren here. I'm going to go Tyler Warren to the Jaguars at 5. Look, could you consider it a reach to go for a tight end at 5? Yeah, sure. After what happened with Kyle Pitts to being the 4th overall pick, that's not, no one wants a repeat of that. But I do think that Tyler Warren has a lot as far as more of a traditional tight end type. He's more physical than Pitts was coming out. He's a better blocker than Pitts was coming out. Yep. He's not the same athlete, but he's still a very capable pass catcher as well. So I'll say Tyler Warren. I'll mix things up a little bit.
Okay. Now the Las Vegas Raiders at number 6. This is something that the Bears fans will keep a close eye on because we know that Ashton Genty, the terrific running back from Boise State, has been linked here, probably more than anybody else in this mock draft conversations. Do you buy the Raiders drafting Genty? Because obviously Pete Carroll wants to kind of have his own, Marshawn Lynch type back to, help Raiders get back on their feet again, or is that kind of a smokescreen?
I think it's real. I think it makes a lot of sense. Picking at 6, there's a good argument that just from a pure value, football player perspective, that's the best player on the board at 6. I think you're looking at it. Like you said, Pete Carroll, during his time with the Seahawks, relied on a strong running game, whether it was Marshawn Lynch or, Chris Carson, Kenneth Walker at the end there.
Yeah, they drafted also Rashad Penny too.
Exactly. So it's clearly a position that the Seahawks value, that Pete Carroll values. And I think that they don't have that type of back on the Raiders right now, the type of guy that can feel like, all right, that's our 3-down back.
Right.
Genty, I think, will be a very good piece for that offense. You're bringing in Geno Smith now. You have Brock Bowers to throw to, who's already, he might already be the best tight end in the league, honestly. And then you bring in Jacoby Myers, a very underrated, just consistent wide receiver, and you add Genty to the mix. That's hardly like an elite group of weapons, but that becomes a lot more manageable for Geno to work with.
Exactly.
Where you have 2 good targets in the passing game, and if that doesn't work, you can check it down to Genty. You can hand the ball off, have him run up the middle. So I think Genty makes too much sense. It feels like the obvious pick at this point. So naturally, it's like, oh, is that all a smoke screen? Is that misdirection? But I think Genty makes too much sense here.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see who makes the call there. They have a Pete Carroll. Obviously, he facilitated that Geno trade because of his past relations working in Seattle. Tom Brady enters his first year as a minority owner. How much of an influence he has. And then you have John Spytek that Tom Brady hired away from Tampa as the new general manager. And he made headlines about his son wanting the Raiders to pick Genti. There's no question about that. So it's a question of, I don't know, not necessarily too many cooks in the kitchen, but who gets to make that call? Because they do have other needs, like Will Johnson, the other, the corner could be of a need there. After releasing Jack Jones.
Yeah.
And then some other needs as well. But the receivers, obviously, there aren't anybody worth taking in the top 10 this year, unfortunately. So we'll be very curious to see what the Raiders do there and who gets to make that call there. Move on to Jets at number 7 here. Is this where Ahmad Membu would go? I know some of the mock draft seems to be putting him and Will Campbell, if he's still there.
I think that could make a lot of sense. I'm going to go in a different direction here, though. So
okay,
I think with Tyler Warren going 5, I think this could be a good landing spot for Mason Graham.
Oh, okay.
Out of Michigan. And I definitely think it's possible they take tackle here. I think Membu would be good value at 7.
Right.
I think at a certain point, Mason Graham, like he shouldn't fall out of the top 9. And I think if you're looking at it from that perspective, they have a need at defensive tackle. They have some good edge rushers up front there in New York, but
right.
That other defensive tackle spot's a bit of an issue. And, you're going to be rotating guys in and out there in the interior defensive line, but you need another impact guy up front. And again, I think it comes down to you need to pick the best player available. The Jets are too many people away to be a contender right now, in my opinion. Just take the best football player. To me, at this point, it's Mason Graham. Membu's really enticing here. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But I do think that it'd make a lot of sense for Mason Graham to go here too.
Moving on to Carolina at number 8. I think this is pretty much a consensus that they need defense here. Mm-hmm. Whoever the defensive player is available, you throw it there. I think it would probably make sense for Carolina. Who do you like for Carolina here at number 8?
So I get the sense there's been a lot of buzz about the Panthers going edge rusher at number 8. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I definitely think they need to boost the pass rush. My top edge rusher available on the board at this point is James Pierce Jr., but I don't think he's going to go this high. Just because, for the most part, there's a decent amount of the character concerns. I can't speak to whether they're true or not. I just know that people are talking about him. That could be enough for him to drop a little bit. The popular name is Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M, who had the incredible combine, strong Senior Bowl. Only has a career high of 1.5 sacks. Everyone's been talking about that. It's been done to death at this point, but it is something to consider. It's like, he's this talented. Why didn't he produce?
Exactly.
But at the same time, I think that an NFL team is really going to convince themselves with how big he is, how fast he is, how strong he is, that, and he's the type of guy where in college he was more of a disruptor, more of a pressures guy, more so than someone who'd finish the play. Obviously, you'd like him to get better at finishing the play there, but I do think that the Panthers look at that and it's like, all right, this is literally a perfect 10 relative athletic score athlete at a key position. If we can coach him up and we can get him going, which by all accounts, it doesn't seem like there are any issues with his, work ethic. I mean, I watch him on tape, the motor's there. Yeah. So I think it's just a matter of getting that to be second nature for him and, having him understand, all right, what moves do I use against which type of blockers, stuff like that. Very high ceiling with him. I could see him going number 8 here.
Shamar Stewart is an interesting polarizing player, if not polarizing, I should say. He's going to more than likely make the general manager and the head coach gets fired. But, I am very, very curious to see, how Shamar Stewart, ends up, not only as a player, but also what team he would end up going. Absolutely. All right. Number 9, New Orleans Saints. We heard the shocking news of Derek Carr, the incumbent quarterback, maybe not ready to play because of the shoulder injury. That just kind of popped up yesterday out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And obviously that really changes the who they need at quarterback. Obviously they can, trot out Spencer Rattler and, just go with it for the entire season and, probably go for a better quarterback in 2026. Many are hoping that Archie Manning turns pro, but I highly doubt that, that's even the case, because obviously, unlike some other athletes, Archie is in a, I wouldn't say born with a silver spoon in his mouth, but he certainly is not in a position of where he's hurting for the money, especially with the NIL deals these days. But we talked about Shedeur Sanders. You haven't picked anybody. You haven't picked Shedeur at any position at this point. Do you see Saints going for Shedeur, or do you feel like that's still an overbearing reach at this point?
I feel like the Saints have to look at it as their rebuild is a few years overdue. They've
been really skirting the cap for a long time.
Yeah, just pushing future assets back. It's like, oh yeah, we'll worry about it next year. Let's compete. And they have nowhere near as good enough of a roster to compete. And a lot of that comes down to the quarterback position. When Drew Brees retired, they settled for Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton. And now Derek Carr's better than those guys, but still you're paying a lot of money for an average quarterback. And now that he's over 30 at this point, now he's got a serious injury that could sideline him the whole year. You're going to have to reconsider. It's like, all right, is this the guy? Is this someone that we can trust to be our long-term play? I think there are too many factors that point to no. So I'm going to go Shedeur Sanders here. Definitely think it's enticing, the thought of the Saints tanking this year and then getting a quarterback next year. I mean, for the record, I do think it's very, very early in my 2026 prep. I do think next year's quarterback class is going to be better than this year's. A lot can change now and 12 months from now. But I'm looking at it. I mean, everyone's hyped on Arch Manning. I think that there's such a small sample size. I can't definitively say, oh, he's a blue chip prospect, but there are some really intriguing tools with him. Nico Iamaleava. I'm going to get that pronunciation right eventually.
You need a Tennessee quarterback.
Tennessee quarterback. Yeah, for now, Tennessee quarterback.
Iamaleava. Nico Iamaleava, I believe.
Iamaleava. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to have to get used to that. But I do think I think that at least going off of tape, he damn near could have been my quarterback one if he were eligible for this year's draft class. I think him as a sophomore, I think the ceiling's higher than any quarterback in this class with Nico than it was with anyone else. And then Lenore Sellers out of South Carolina is someone that I really like as well. Again, could use some refinement, and he's hard. I'm not going to say he's a blue chip guy, but when you have a guy with that arm strength, you have a guy with that build, a guy with that athleticism. I think, some people naturally point to Anthony Richardson. I think he's a more polished passer than Anthony Richardson, at least at this stage. I'm getting ahead of myself. Point is, 2026 draft class at QB looks to be solid. But I think if you're the Saints, you don't necessarily know if you're going to be picking high enough for those guys. And there's so many factors that are going in with a lot of those quarterbacks to where it's like, all right, we have the chance to get a good, a guy we think is going to be a good quarterback. Let's just take it. So Shedeur's my pick here. Long-winded answer, but Shedeur Sanders is going to be my guy.
What are the odds of a team moving up to 9 to get Shedeur Sanders?
So I don't know if I'd look as much for the number 9 pick as much as I'd look like 7 or 8, because I think ultimately you want to make sure that you can jump ahead of the Saints. And I think the one team that really stands out to me is the Steelers.
Right.
Being there at 20 currently. We'll see if they end up
21. I think it's 21 right now. Yeah.
Okay. So wherever they're at, it's been, pretty clear that they've been lacking long-term stability at the quarterback position ever since Ben Roethlisberger retired.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett didn't work. Russell Wilson was a short-term guy. Justin Fields was a short-term guy. Now they're looking at probably Aaron Rodgers that they're going to bring in. But again, that's not a long-term guy just because of his age and his play at this point. So I could see the Steelers looking to trade up depending on how highly they value Shedeur.
Okay.
I could also argue that, hey, maybe they just take Jackson Dart at 20 or 21 instead. Maybe that would be the better value. I don't know. I guess that all depends on how they evaluate the quarterbacks in this class.
If somebody jumps ahead of the Saints to take Shedeur Sanders, what are the odds that Jackson Dart gets picked at number 9?
See, that would be interesting. It really would. I get the thing I'd say to that is stranger things have happened. I know some mock drafts have had him going number 7 to the Jets even.
Right. That was about a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know if that happens. But no, it's definitely I wouldn't rule it out. I do think Jackson Dart goes in the first round. I just have no idea where he ends up. Maybe there's a team who trades up into the back half of the first round, like a team like the Browns or the Giants, who, if they pass on a quarterback at 2 or 3, maybe they get Dart later. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely possible.
Right. There are some intrigues in this year's draft that I think we're going to be talking a lot about in the coming weeks as it gets closer, or even the night of the draft. My guest today is Jacob Infante, the lead draft analyst with the Windy City Gridiron, as well as the PFN 365. We're going to get to the Bears conversation in a little bit. Jacob has some business to take care of while he gets away. Jacob, go ahead. Thank you very much for joining me once again on this Sunday afternoon. By the way, I have my regularly scheduled live stream with Ken Fang scheduled at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Tonight, I'm just going to text Ken just to make sure that he is aware of it. Obviously, it is subject to change. Also, this past week, we were supposed to welcome my good friend Rashab Shakiri, the Bears YouTuber with his YouTube channel, The Windy City Production. He could not make it when we had Nick Whalen on Wednesday night because his train got into an accident and he got home very, very late. So I believe we are currently scheduled to have Rashab on again this upcoming week. We are scheduled to have him, excuse me, Thursday, the 17th to 17th, 1 week from the NFL draft. On the 17th, we have him scheduled at 9/8 Central this upcoming week. So be sure to make sure to tune in to our live stream for more draft content. And then again, 7:30 tonight, me and Ken, we get together again with our own regular scheduled live stream. We're looking to cover, looking back at the NCAA tournament. We might have a winner of the Masters tournament by the time we get on air. We might touch on that. We're also going to talk about the, Nico Iamaleava transfer saga, NIL saga as well. If we reach the kind of a breaking point with the NCAA and the NIL situation, and we'll talk more about that kind of stuff later tonight on our scheduled program live stream with Ken Fang tonight. So we got to the top 9, obviously, with the conversation with Jacob Infante, what the top 9 teams ahead of the Chicago Bears will be doing in the upcoming draft. We talked about it. Jacob is back with us almost. Looks like it is his cat. Cap, I don't know what's his name, but Cap may have touched the computer and doing some peeking into the. This kind of reminds me of when New England Patriots had Bill Belichick's dog in the chair. I think that was the COVID year, if you remember, when his dog was there to do the draft or making picks or something like that. But cute cat there. Hey, kitty, kitty, kitty. I don't think Cat even knows he must have touched the computer to get back on screen there. Cat is eagerly awaiting for Jacob to return, and so are we. I think Cat is very curious about the computer and what each keyboard does. Ah.
Oh my Lord! All right. Well,
no. It was fine. It was fine. Your cat must have inadvertently turned on the computer. It was very curious. It was curious. Hey, no harm, no foul.
There you go. Well, glad you got the the little entertainment there, the information.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There you go.
All right, so here we are, number 10, the Chicago Bears. Obviously, Tyler Warren is gone. Will Campbell is gone. Mason Graham, Abdul Carter are gone as well. So here at number 10, realistically, Ahmad Membu is still on the board. With the way we've kind of discussed it right now, do you take Ahmad Membu at number 10 or do you take somebody else?
So the way things stand in this point, I'd take Membu here at 10. And
okay,
I think look, in my eyes, I think there are 4 slam dunk picks the Bears can take at 10. Ruling out Abdul Carter because he's not going to be there. Ruling out Travis Hunter. Mason Graham, Ashton Genty, Will Campbell, and Armand Membu. So that's just in my opinion. I don't know if the Bears feel the same way. Right. But those are the top 4 to me in no order. If you can get one of those, you have a tremendous draft, in my opinion. If not, I think they'll consider Tyler Warren, but again, he's off the board here, so I don't know. I don't know if I'd like. I'm trying to think of who else they'd even consider. I mean, maybe a defensive lineman. Maybe they look into Omarion Hampton, the running back out of North Carolina. I know, it seems pretty. It seems pretty early for him, but it's the same similar prospect of what the Lions did with Jahmyr Gibbs. Hey, we think this could be a really good running back for us. Let's just take him. But anyway, thank you. I'm going to go with Armand Membu here. I think that some people are going to be like, oh, well, he's a right tackle. My understanding is around the league. Jeez. There you go. Live streaming, folks. Live streaming. But I'm gonna go Membu here. My understanding is that's hardly as much of a concern. Geez, hold on.
Cat allergies?
A minor one. I haven't taken my meds yet today, so
I understand.
Yeah, there's a long story into that. But anyway.
Yeah. So you take Ahmad Membu at number 10. The question, obviously, the Bears fans will have is that Membu is play primarily at right tackle at your alma mater, Missouri, correct? Now, can he transition into left tackle? I know Kyle Long, the former Bears guard, was talking about his experience transitioning. I know it's different with every player, but do you see enough from Membu that he can be like a left tackle in year 2?
I think it's certainly possible. I do. And I look at it from the perspective of, from a physical attributes perspective, he's more than capable of, filling that role. I think, you look at his, 330 pounds, tremendous power, he's got a strong anchor, packs a nice punch at the point of attack. Tremendous athlete too. I think that's something I did an article for Pro Football Network, and my player comparison for Membu, I realized maybe a little bit steep, and I don't know if he has this level of a career, but athletically, at least, he reminds me a lot of Jason Peters, who just came off of a tremendous career, lasting, Lord knows, like 20 years in the NFL, 9-time Pro Bowler, I believe, something like that. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. That's not going to say, oh, Membu's going to be a Hall of Famer, because that's a really high bar. But I think the way that he moves at his size and the level of strength he brings is very similar. And the way that they're built is very similar as well. I think Membu, maybe there's a little bit of a learning curve in year one as he moves to the left side. I know the Titans did that with J.C. Latham. The Saints did that with Fuaga as well. It's not entirely unheard of. And I think that if you project him as a left tackle, obviously, if you're working him out, you're going to try and test him at left tackle, see if he can stick there, see how he does. And I think Membu can, because I look at it from the tremendous improvements on tape as a technician from 2023 to 2024. Like, you look at it, he plays more in control, better pad level, better, weight distribution, better hand usage as well. He's not as, delayed in some of his strikes. Done a better job, bless you, of consistently, landing his hands like inside the chest of opposing edge rushers. I think that's something he struggled with a little bit in 2023. I think that rapid level of improvement shows his coachability, and he's always had the physical attributes. It's just now he's maximizing it. So I'd take Membu. Like, if this was the board, I'd take Membu, and I wouldn't think twice about it. Again, there's no guarantee he's going to be there.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think if you put Membu at, I don't know, like at 8 or 9 or something like that, and then it's all those guys off the board, I'd hazard to guess maybe they take Hampton. And I don't know, I don't know if a lot of people are going to be happy about that, but I don't think anyone would be happy about whoever they'd have to take if all those guys were gone at 10. So,
right.
But, luckily enough here, Membu falls to 10.
Okay.
I think it's possible. I think it's certainly possible one of the 4 guys I mentioned is, falls and is available at 10. I don't think it's going to be any more than just one of those guys. And again, there's no guarantee that any of them even get there. So we'll see.
Absolutely. What position would Membu play in his rookie year when he's drafted by the Bears?
So I think they'd have him at left tackle. And the way that I see that is, I know Ryan Poles has talked a little bit about wanting some competition for Braxton Jones. Right. And I think something that's possible, depending on how pro-ready the Bears think Membu is, or Campbell if they take him, or if he falls, which, I don't think he does, but we'll see. They could always, try and do a draft day trade and send Braxton Jones somewhere. Will they do that? I don't know. But I think with this being his last year on his rookie contract before he's due for an extension, maybe a team's like, hey, we need a left tackle. We'd be willing to give up like a 3rd-round pick to see if he can be our guy. If not, then we can get a really good comp pick for him in free agency and then go from there. So I think that could be a possibility for teams like that who are in need of a left tackle. I don't know. So we'll see. I lean towards Braxton Jones is going to be a Bear in 2025. But I think that at the very least, having Membu in as competition, and then, worst case scenario, Braxton Jones plays great. Cool. You have a young left tackle. There's your answer. You don't need to take Darnell Wright out of the equation. You could put Membu at guard. And again, I think he could be very good at guard. even if I think he'll be better at tackle. So it's all about, starting your best 5, in my opinion. And I think Membu, when he gets there, would be one of their best 5. So I'd be curious to see how that all plays out.
Mm-hmm. If Membu is also gone, pretty much, what player would make sense at number 10? Is somebody like an edge rusher, Michael Williams from Georgia, makes sense? Are you coming around on a guy like that? Or, obviously, probably maybe better production-wise than, say, Shamar Stewart, but still has a lot of holes in this game. But where are you on the edge rusher at number 10?
Yeah, so I think from a pure scheme perspective, I think Michael Williams would be the best fit. I look at it as, all right, so the other guys there, you're looking at James Pierce, right, who's really good football player, super explosive, athlete, refined hands, but a little bit undersized for a base 4.3. They naturally kick the edge rushers a little bit more inside, so you need to take those blocks head on. I don't know if that's a strength of Pierce necessarily. I wouldn't say it is. Also, other guys, Mike Green, similar situation. He's a little bit smaller. Also has, off the field concerns like Pierce. Again, I can't say what's real and what's not. Just people are talking.
Same with Mike Green as well, unfortunately.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you're looking at, Shamar Stewart. I'm really high on Nick Scorton. I don't think he's an option at 10 though, and I don't think he's a guy who's going to be in the mix that high. So then, I think Michael Williams would be that guy they consider. Well, do they take him? I don't know, but he fits that Dennis Allen mold really well. He's big. He's got really long arms. He's powerful. He's explosive. He's got good short area quickness. And, he's not going to be the guy who consistently, turns the corner with rip moves and, wins with speed off the edge consistently. But he's quick off the ball and he's powerful. He can take blocks head on. I think he's a much better run defender than a lot of people give him credit for at this stage. And I think that there's a higher floor with him than people realize. I think he could be a really good high-end run defender off the edge. And if he continues to improve like his plan as a pass rusher, I could see him being like a steady, like 7, 8, 9 sack type of guy.
Okay. Is that enough for defensive end nowadays? Guys, I know a lot of people we want guys who can get double-digit sacks, more so than anything else. But with the Allen system, I guess that's probably more of somewhat of an outlier compared to the other defensive systems, right?
Yeah. And I think it's fair to be like, oh, we need a consistent double-digit sack guy. Yeah. But at the same time, I think if you're getting 2 guys, like say if Montez Sweat and like in this case, Michael Williams, long term, if they're both getting 7, 8 sacks, that's a pretty damn good year. That's a pretty good duo.
Okay.
And you're factoring in still other defensive linemen will get sacks. Obviously, your defensive tackles, and you're going to rotate other guys off the edge as well.
Right.
I think the Bears would be completely happy with that if they get, they didn't have in the last 2 years. Montez Sweat was tremendous in 2023, that second half of the year after he got traded to Chicago. But, they haven't had those reliable, that 1-2 punch off the edge since Ryan Poles has been in Chicago. And I think that's something, it wouldn't surprise me if they look into. I don't know if they do it at 10, but certainly with one of those second-round picks, I think would be on the board strong.
Okay. Yeah. What are the odds that they trade down?
So,
yeah, this draft isn't probably an ideal situation for teams looking to move up, right?
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because you're right. I don't think a ton of teams are really going to be looking to move up. And I do think that the teams who are going to move down, they might not get as much draft capital as they would otherwise. In a normal class, it'd be like, oh, to move up to 20. Yeah, no, because the Broncos have 20, I realize, and the Steelers at 21. Like if the Broncos want to move up to 10 for Omarion Hampton or something, the Bears could probably get a second-round pick out of that. I don't know how much more they'd get. Where in a normal year, it'd be like, all right, you'll get a second and a third. You feel pretty good about that. I don't know necessarily if teams are going to look at the board at 10, see there's so much of a drop-off from the guy they want there at 10 and the guy they could possibly get at 17. I feel like there's a good, like, I don't know, 6 maybe blue chip prospects in this class. And I think all of them are going to be gone by 10 in the chance that one of them is going to be there. I feel like the Bears would take it and they wouldn't trade down. But I think it's gonna be easier said than done to trade down. Would it be fantastic? Yeah, absolutely. Get some more day 2 picks. Like, I'm all for that. But I don't know how feasible that's gonna be this year.
Quickly, let's look at the 2 second-rounders. Obviously the other need. We talked about running backs. If Ashton Jeanty, God forbid, falls at number 10, you're taking him. Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, with this discussion, Jeanty goes to the Raiders. Obviously, you still have to have a running back at number 39 and 41 of their second-round picks. Give me an overview of, who do you have taking in that 39 and 41, in your mock drafts?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the best combination of fit and value would be Quinton Judkins out of Ohio State here. I think, honestly, I don't think there's a huge gap between him and Omarion Hampton.
Okay.
That's just my honest opinion. I think Judkins at 39 or 41 would be an infinitely better value than Hampton at 10. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, I think he's more polished at this stage. Judkins might be a little bit more like, bull in a china shop sort of deal. Can work on his patience a little bit more, but he's just as big. He's just as fast. He's a tough runner, good contact balance. He's aggressive. And I think that's what the Bears need at running back. Looking at, DeAndre Swift, he's very good in space. He's very good on screens. He's very good on, like some of the wide zone, like stretch sort of runs where he doesn't have to do as much processing in between the tackles. I think he's good at that, but you need someone who can run downhill. You need someone who can run in between the tackles. And I think Judkins is really good at that. Hampton as well. And obviously Jeanty. That's why I don't necessarily know if they're going to be into Travion Henderson as much.
Yeah.
He's a tremendous player for sure, but him and DeAndre Swift in the same backfield, like there's not a lot of diversity in skill set there. They're similar players. And Caleb Johnson, I think if you can trade back in round 2 and get him, that'd be sweet. Again, easier said than done. If you can get him in round 3, that'd be amazing, but I don't know if he's going to be there.
Right.
I think he's a little bit of a reach at 39 or 41. I just think that, he's he's a patient runner. He's smart in between the tackles. He's tough. He's powerful, but I just don't know if the speed's there. The long speed is okay. The wiggle is okay. I think he'll be a good, I think he'd be a good starter in the league, but is he going to be a Ben Johnson fit? I mean, he could be, but it's just a matter of, do you want to use a top 40, top 45 pick on someone with a relatively limited athletic ceiling? And I don't know if the Bears.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. No problem there. What about the other second round pick? You have a running back need. You have an offensive lineman, need. You also probably could get another defensive lineman there, an edge, or maybe a defensive tackle. Anybody that kind of stands out to you in the second round that you think that the Bears should be looking at?
Yeah, I think like you said, the defensive line value I think could be really good there. I know there have been an increasing amount of mock drafts that have had Kenneth Grant falling out of the first round.
Yeah.
He's someone where, the guy out of Michigan, if he's available, I wouldn't mind trading up a few spots to secure him. I think he's going to be an impact run defender from day one. I think there's athletic upside with him to the point where I think he could offer a lot more eventually as a pass rusher.
Yeah.
He's someone I'd really like. Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State, someone I'm a big fan of, well at D tackle.
Right.
even a couple other guys like Alfred Collins out of Texas, I think has, he's got some good versatility and good positional flexibility. He's got power. He's quick. Another guy, 330, but he moves way better than you'd expect.
Right.
So those are just a couple guys I think you could really look at a D tackle and be like, all right, that's tremendous value there. Edge rusher, maybe somehow like a James Pierce falls, but again, I don't know what if the character concerns are real. I don't know if the Bears, would be interested in him, what they like.
Mm-hmm.
Even then, though, you get a Princely Umanmielen out of Ole Miss would be good value there.
Right.
JT Tuimoloau out of Ohio State would be really good value there. Landon Jackson out of Arkansas, that's a guy with traits that I'd rather take a shot on Landon Jackson in round 2 than Shamar Stewart in round 1, but that's just me.
Okay.
That's just me, though. So there should be good defensive line value early with those second round picks, and I think that especially if they don't go D line in round 1, which I don't know if they do, I think it'd be super smart to use at least one of those picks on a defensive lineman.
Mm-hmm. That means if they're going to move back into the first round, you have to probably give up one of their second and then a third round pick, and maybe next year's summer picks third or fourth round. In that you have to probably give up that much just to move back into the first round, right? If there's somebody worth taking.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on exactly where they end up, or if they were to trade up. I honestly, in my opinion, I wouldn't anticipate they move up super high, maybe into like the mid-late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, then you could probably do that for a second and a third, and then still keep 41. Maybe you throw in like an extra, like a future, like mid-late round pick in the mix. But I think if you do trade up into round 1, you should be able to keep, your other second round pick. So, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe there's a really good negotiator out there who can, finagle that away from Ryan Poles, but I don't know. I think it could be interesting though, to see if they want to go all out and be like, hey, we feel like we're pretty close, willing to trade up for a guy because we have a really high grade on him, and then we can just, go from there. So I don't know if they do it, but it's certainly fun to think about.
Yeah, it is definitely worth watching how the rest of the draft, turns into, and if the Bears are willing to move back into the first round to get the guy that they like, whether it's a running back or a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman, depending on who they take. Absolutely. At number 10. Jacob, what will you be doing the night of the draft? Will you be doing live streaming, or will you be doing a live stream with PFN or somewhere else?
Yeah, so that's something I'm still trying to figure out all the logistics of. I know I'm doing post-pick recaps at Windy City Gridiron.
Okay.
After the Bears picks, just doing like quick little rundowns of that. As far as during the draft, we'll see. I know there are going to be some articles I'll be writing during the mix. I haven't decided if I'm going to live stream, what I'm going to do necessarily. I'll be in Green Bay. I know.
Oh, you are? Okay.
I'll be there. I don't know if I'm going to be like during the draft, if I'll be like on site there. I'm not applying for media credentials. I'm just, going because I don't know. I prefer the buzz. I prefer the buzz of just being around the people and, being my excitement instead of being all buttoned up and professional and everything. Cause that's
gotcha.
Yeah. That's the farthest thing from me. But I do think, I'll figure something out. I know for sure I'm doing the post game, the post pick podcast with Windy City Gridiron, but other than that, we'll see. It should be a fun one either way, though.
Have you attended the draft before?
No. I've actually, hold on. I attended the Bears,
the one in Chicago.
When Chicago, I think 2016. I was there on day 2.
Okay.
Like in the draft town or whatever they called it.
Yeah.
I was around for that. So I wasn't in the whatever music hall or whatever they had the actual draft in, but I was on the festivities.
Gotcha. It's a fun event. I've been to 2, both on day 3, unfortunately, on Saturday, which not much buzz goes around that time. I went to the one in Dallas in 2018.
Oh yeah.
And then I also went to the one in Kansas City in 2023, day 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had just relocated to Kansas City like a week and a half ago, and I went there. It was a lot of fun. Let me tell you, it's just so much. Families, of course, day 3. A lot of the fans and the family members go attend.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, because it's Saturday and it's the last day. It's just basically people are just there to have fun. Nobody's paying much attention to the day 3 picks compared to day 1 and day 2. So, but it's still a great experience, and I hope you have a wonderful time up in Green Bay. And thank you for joining me today. I know you had to deal with the allergies, or your cat made quite an appearance, and I really appreciate it and enjoyed the cat being around there. It was a lot of fun, and look forward to having you on again. Hopefully next month when we do the post draft recap, and we look forward to having you on sometime in May to discuss it. Thanks for your time. Enjoy your Sunday, and have fun in Green Bay as well. Take care, Jacob.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Steven. Thanks for having me.
Take care, and say hello to your family.
Absolutely. I will. I'll let them know you say hi.
And thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. And we look forward to our regular live stream with Ken Fang later tonight at 7:30. Be sure to join us. Till then, have a great Sunday, and we look forward to having you on the next edition of the Double A Team podcast live stream. Good afternoon. Take care. Bye-bye.